All right. I'm gonna remove. I don't know why. Twitter sometimes has issues, but we're gonna make it work. All right. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on when and where you're watching this Facebook Live. This is the voice and the face of Dr. Cholo Labinton. I help people live long and well because I believe the quality of life is just as important as the quantity of life. If you're watching live with us, hashtag live. If you're watching replay, hashtag replay. I'm excited because this is a topic very near and dear to my heart. We're talking about how to help your child handle bullying and stay mentally safe. And we're going to have Dr. Marie Dona with us. I'm going to let her introduce herself. But first, I want to thank her live for the privilege and for coming on to spend time with us this evening. Thank you, Doc.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. So, my name is Dr. Marie Dona. I'm a board certified physician and psychiatrist, and I specialize in youth, adult, and reproductive mental health. I'm also obesity medicine certified. I have a private practice in Riverview, physically located in Riverview, Florida, but I'm able to see patients remotely in the states of Florida, New York, Washington, D.C. and Pennsylvania. And my work basically mostly focuses on helping individuals navigate challenges like anxiety, depression, trauma, behavioral concerns, ADHD, OCD, addiction, and a lot of other mental health concerns. And my strong emphasis is on education, awareness, and ensuring that my patients and their families have the tools that they need to thrive. I'm also very holistic based, and I'm a psychiatrist and I prescribe medicines, but medicines are not they're not the be all end all. It's all everything that is incorporated with that, like a holistic things, like making sure that you're eating well, sleeping well, everything like that. They go hand in hand with medicines. And while medicines can be the tool, that's something that I emphasize specifically in my practice, that it's not just medicines, it's everything else around that.
I like that. The whole body, not just the medicine we use,
Yeah.
the thing. I like that. I like that. Now, Doc, why do you do the things that you do?
Yeah, so well, I always kind of knew in the back of my head that I wanted to be a physician. So my dad is a physician as well, and I love the potential to be able to help people. And I was actually initially considering neurosurgery because I
Oh, wow.
love the brain and mind, and that fascinated me. But then when I found out actually how long training was and how difficult life would be to juggle as a neurosurgeon, I reconsidered because I was like, okay, that seems like a lot. And then I actually did my undergrad training. I did biology and psychology as a double major, and I've always kind of been interested in mental health. And then I also firsthand kind of saw how stigma can affect people growing up, and especially when it came to mental health. And I unfortunately had to go through some issues of my own when at age 19, my mom, she passed away unexpectedly. And
Right.
so that was a difficult time. But after, working through that, through time and personal growth, I was able to move forward. And then it was actually in medical school where I like finally realized like psychiatry was a thing. So I was in my clinical rotations, and you go through IM, FM, ped, surgery, and I would always spend more time with patients than needed. And everyone kind of would be like, hey, hurry up, we got to get going, we got to do this and that. But I always wanted to just sit with the patient and get their background history. And then when I finally hit my psychiatry rotation, I was like, wait a second, I think that this fits. And it just kind of clicked for me. And then that's when I knew that's what I wanted to pursue in my career. And that was just really further cemented the further I got in my career, like residency training and fellowship training. It just felt like home, and I've never looked back. And even though psychiatry is a difficult field, like obviously having to deal with trauma and really difficult topics, I feel inspired by my patients on a daily basis, and I can truly say that I love what I do. And my aim is not only to provide treatment, but to also help break down the barriers and stigma when it comes to mental health in
Mm.
particular.
I
So
like that. And I look forward to us. We'll talk a little bit about some of the success stories that you've had so we can encourage our viewers today. Now, for those of you who are watching live replay, hashtag replay, if you know someone who should be in on this conversation on how to help your child handle bullying and stay mentally well, please, please, please definitely invite them, send them the link. It's not too late to join. All right. Now, and by the way, thank you for using your pain points to help empower you to empower other people. So kudos to you, Doc. That's powerful.
thank
Um,
you.
hi, Dr. Mara. Good to see you. Okay, let me focus. Um, What are some of the signs that a child might be experiencing bullying but isn't saying anything?
Yeah, so if a child is experiencing bullying but isn't speaking up about it, that can be observed and shown in like a lot of ways that can be really subtle, and that could be through their behavior, their emotions, or their physical health. So, some key indicators to potentially look for would be behavioral changes, like all of a sudden, kid doesn't want to go to school or starts avoiding school, like complaining of physical complaints like illness, stomach upset, or just not wanting to go to school in general, or loss of interest in activities. Like say they were part of like an after school program, hobbies, sports, and all of a sudden they're like, wait, no, I don't want to do this anymore. Avoiding social interactions like friends, wanting to be alone, isolated, or all like their change in routines, like taking a different route home, avoiding specific places, stuff like that. So these are behavioral changes. And then there are emotional changes. So increased anxiety or nervousness, like feeling more on edge, jumpy or fearful, low self-esteem. Like all of a sudden your kid might have never done this before, but they're like, oh, like, do I look ugly, or like expressing self-doubt, or negative comments about themselves that seem out of the blue, mood swings or irritability. And a lot of times kids, especially younger kids, they don't know how to put into words exactly how they're feeling or what they're going through. So they might exhibit them in behaviors, like all of a sudden way more angry, irritable, outbursts, feeling frustrated, or sleep, like having nightmares, difficult sleeping, bedwetting in kids. And yeah, physical symptoms, like all of a sudden you're seeing injuries, like actual unexplained injuries, bruises, scratches, bites, like torn clothing, headaches, stomach aches that can be associated with school avoidance as well, which can also be linked to stress and anxiety. And then just changes in eating habits, like all of a sudden loss of appetite, overeating, and then actually academic and school performance. So kids avoiding school, not wanting to deal with school. So might also have trouble with staying focused, not doing homework, failing tests, like skipping classes, acting out, being disruptive, like really uncharacteristic behaviors, or getting in trouble maybe to avoid certain situations or things like that. And then technology and other like social cues that, like if your child isn't speaking out specifically, would be all of a sudden they're like really secretive, like, oh, they don't want to show you what they're looking at online, like hiding their phone, being upset after they're on their phone or looking at different forms of social media, like reacting really emotionally to that. Or if they're all of a sudden deleting all of their social media when they're really active on it before, that could indicate potentially like cyberbullying or other negative online interactions. So these are kind of more subtle things. And I'm going to say it's really hard for kids to kind of open up directly about bullying. It will be manifested, in my experience, in other ways, like all of a sudden really sad, these kind of sort of more subtle things. And then it'll come out like, oh, actually, this kid's been saying this about me in school, and that will prompt it. So there can be a lot of subtle cues that kids won't say specifically that can indicate bullying.
So paying attention, intentionality, and sometimes when we have this conversation, it's like, oh, we got more work to do as parents, or we got more work to do. But I think it's more directed work. So attention, we got to pay attention to the cues our kids may give us. Now, my next question to you would be, how do we help parents support their children? And I'm going to say from this angle, growing up, love my parents, they're great. Bullying was like a please. I mean, that's like a rite of passage. Like I mean, they bullied you. What did you do? What, like, come on, like toughen up, like,
Yeah.
and where I grew up, that was okay because I don't think people have it as hard as it is right now. Like it was just we understood but how do we encourage parents who maybe come from that background where it's like that's life, like that's how do
Yeah.
you encourage parents to support their children without overwhelming them or making them feel bad for having emotions around being bullied?
Yeah. So I'm going to say, honestly, the way that you responded is how often a lot of parents will kind of react or respond. And, I'm not going to say that's wrong, but this is where too, trying to come from a place of understanding and like listening. So different generations, things have affected people differently. So when you or I were growing up, mental health has evolved in a lot of different ways. And nowadays, when kids are facing things, because specifically when it can come to bullying, sometimes just being told, oh, we've been through this before, or just kind of toughen up, isn't necessarily helpful or supportive, and validating to what the experience that they're going through. So key ways to be helpful would be to listen more than you talk. Like, instead of immediately jumping into solutions, let your child express what they're feeling. Sometimes simply saying, that sounds really tough, how are you feeling about it, can go a long way. And I always really emphasize curiosity as a way to open the door for a more meaningful conversation, just because I know parents, they care about their kids. So they're like wanting to jump in, wanting to solve it right away. But sometimes that's not the immediate response and the answer, but to just listen and then try to take their lead and their cues and reassure them that they're not alone, their feelings are valid, and take it from there. I think just trying to be a support as best as you can to your child, safe, judgment-free space is going to be helpful for them.
I like how you said allow them to take the lead.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I was ready. I was ready to come to school and announce who I am, and to emphasize you would not disrespect my child, or you not treat my child. So, any tips in how we can encourage our kids to that speaking up for yourself is okay? It doesn't make you a toddler. It doesn't make you weak. How do you balance that? Because as a parent, your heart hurts to see that somebody's words or action is changing the countenance or the
Yeah.
aura around your child. It Something rises in you, and you want to vindicate. You want to fight. So how do you encourage parents to allow the child to kind of take the lead? Like, okay, mom, maybe not right now, and also encourage children to advocate for themselves. Like yeah.
I think, so I'm going to say it is incredibly difficult as a parent. You're going to want to support and help your child as much as you can. But I think this is where just that open communication is going to be really helpful and key. Just asking them, hey, like, you're telling me about this. I know this is a concern. Is there anything that I can do that can be supportive of you? Or is there anything that you would want me to do to help you? And they're kind of like that's where, taking their cue, having that open communication, following their lead. Oh, mom, I think I got it. I'm just going to try to talk to the teacher or talk to them. Okay, well, this is where you can give them a chance at that. But then if they're like, no, this is really difficult for me, I feel like I need more support, that's where you'd be given kind of the green light to potentially give them more help or encouragement when they're saying that specifically. But I do think the thing is opening that door to dialogue will help lead the decision and how you're going to move forward with navigating the bullying, and how they would want to approach it as well too.
I like it. It's a joint space, but you pick your cues, and there's a time where you need to intervene, which is my next question. How do you know for the parent who you suspect? Let's say a parent comes, brings the child in, and parent doesn't maybe see it as such a big deal, but like, when would you say, okay, it's time in your parent child interaction? Like, what do you see that makes you say, okay, no, mama, papa, you need to go report this?
Yeah. So basically, I think that when it's kind of time that either school or it needs to be reported to a higher level would be if the bullying is persistent or escalating, or it's happening more than just once, but like, child is coming home every single day or like every few days, and they're kind of like, hey, this is kind of going on, and instead of it stopping, it's getting worse or escalating. If it becomes really physical or threatening, like your child is actually scared, feels physically terrified of going to school, there is actual physical harm, like bruises, bite mark, like on a regular basis that you're kind of seeing on your kid. Their property might actually get destroyed if they're actually getting threats of violence or intimidated on a regular basis. Like, these are things where really scary. And as adults, we would feel fearful if this was happening to us. So if this is happening to your child, to definitely take awareness of. And also, not just those things, but just keeping an eye on your child yourself, like the things I mentioned before, the signs where they might not be able to express in words what they're feeling, but all of a sudden their emotional health is declining, like signs of anxiety, depression, emotional distress, like not just that one day or that one time that they were getting bullied, but it's like ongoing for a few weeks, a few months. And it's like, this doesn't seem like my child, like crying often, feeling hopeless, isolated, withdrawn, suddenly loss of confidence. Their school is getting affected. Like, obviously school performance is definitely something that's
Mhm.
important, but all of a sudden, let's say they were a straight A student, but they can't focus or their grades are dropping, they don't want to go to school. If the child has tried to kind of handle it and is like actively asking them for support, that's another indicator, and them feeling unsafe. So I think all of these are signs to indicate, okay, child has tried to navigate it, or it's escalated too far that we might actually need to approach the school and try to address it from there.
Okay, that's fair. Thank you. Now let's talk of self-esteem. What role do you think self-esteem plays in how children handle bullying, and how can we help boost our children's self-esteem?
So I think self-esteem plays a huge role in how children experience and respond to bullying. So a child with a stronger, a strong baseline of self-esteem is potentially more likely to maybe brush off the hurtful words and maybe not take them personally, and maybe be able to stand up more confidently for themselves or seek support from friends, family, loved ones. But say if a kid was already struggling with low self-esteem prior to bullying, it can even further exacerbate their low self-esteem, making them feel worse and leading to increased feelings of helplessness, avoiding school situations, belief that they actually deserve the bullying and how they're getting treated, and actually potentially making it harder for them to ask for help because they're already in the belief of the low self-esteem. I probably deserve what I'm getting. So ways to potentially help a kids with their self-esteem is to focus on their strengths and their talents. So encouraging them to engage in activities that can help them feel accomplished, like if they like sports, music, and praising their efforts, not just results. Like you're not going to win every game, you're not going to be Mozart when you're playing piano, but like praising them, wanting to actually engage in these activities and helping them find hobbies or passions that actually build their confidence. And a huge thing that I emphasize within my practice specifically is encouraging positive self-talk. So it's actually pretty crazy how often I hear people when they're meeting with me for the first time, they're like, oh, I'm so stupid, oh, something's wrong with me. And they're saying it like repeatedly. I'm like, do you recognize how often that you're saying this? And they're like, I have no idea. So helping people recognize that negative, all this negative self-talk really can become detrimental, because you're talking to, like, in your entire life, you're going to be spending most of your time talking to yourself. So if the majority of the time you're talking negatively of yourself, that's going to be something that actually sinks in deep into your core and influences how you believe about yourself. So helping them replace negative thoughts with empowering ones, and positive affirmations, finding out their strengths, talking about them specifically, I think is going to be helpful with that. And then also assertiveness too. So, you're never going to want to encourage aggression and fighting, but when it comes to, say, actually dealing with a bully, like maybe potentially role playing, like how to respond confidently in tough situations, like using a strong voice, like, I don't like that, stop, walking away confidently, not reacting emotionally, because a lot of times,
I don't know. I'm dramatizing. I don't like that.
yeah.
No, I
Yeah,
don't.
not reacting emotionally, since bullies will often kind of seek a reaction, but just,
Mm,
okay, I don't like that, stop, walking away confidently and trying not to react emotionally. I think that is more assertive and confident without actually having to engage in like aggressive fighting behaviors. And at home, safe space, judgment-free zone, letting them know that they're loved and accepted, and encouraging like social connections that are actually healthy for them, like friends who are supportive of them, family members who are supportive of them. All of those types of things I think will be helpful in terms of encouraging and supporting your child's self-esteem.
I love it. I love it. And it's so interesting. Some of these things also affect adults. Like the self, you mentioned the self-talk. All 16 billion cells can hear what you're saying about yourself. I'm like,
Yeah.
these cells serve you. So there's power in what you speak, even when you don't yet believe it.
Yeah.
Your mind doesn't quite know the difference, so speak it. So powerful, man. This was good. This is good. We're not done yet. So how can children, here's, we're talking to the parents, but how can parents then teach their children how to stand up for themselves in a way that doesn't escalate the situation? I'll be honest with you, that sometimes it's like, okay, I don't want to provoke. And you talked about assertive. Any other tips on how
Yeah.
they can be taught to stand up for themselves in a way that doesn't escalate the situation, or maybe using people around them, or like, yeah, can we talk more about that?
Yeah, definitely. So, along the lines of being assertive, confident, and trying to maintain emotional control, that would be one thing. Basically just firm, neutral, telling them to stop, leave me alone. I don't have time for this. Leaving, but then encouraging. Like another one would be like encouraging like a broken record strategy. Like if the bully it keeps bothering them, like repeating the same phrase over and over, but trying to leave emotions out of it. Just because a lot of times when people are bullying, it's not actually the target that they're trying to elicit. It's like something happening most likely within the bully themselves that they're trying to elicit that emotional reaction. So it's almost kind of like a gray rock strategy, and like bully keeps bothering them, repeating the same thing. You're so weird. Well, that's your opinion. No one likes you. That's your opinion. So this shows that kids won't engage in a fight while trying to stand their ground. Assertiveness can also not just be words, but teaching the body, like body language, can be very powerful too. So standing tall with your shoulders back, like making eye contact, keeping your hands relaxed, calm and steady posture will just kind of show within your body language. Hey, I'm here and I'm confident. I'm not going to fight you, but I'm also not going to stand up for what you're doing to me. And then also knowing when to walk away. So if at any point the child is starting to feel fearful that it could become physical or dangerous, then the best response would be like simply to just leave and try to get help by someone in the school, a teacher, and walking away. And I think all of this would be helpful. So, at home, just letting them know that this is like a safe, free space, but like they can role play like these scenarios. So, like, just trying to act out common bullying situations and helping them practice responses. Like, so a lot of times these things, they don't come naturally to people, because it's kind of like with everything new that you learn, you're kind of like, oh well, that's interesting, that's novel, but then it's hard for people to kind of think about doing these things on the spot. So sometimes just kind of role playing these things will help kids get familiar if they ever are placed in that situation. So it's not like, oh, I don't know how to respond or what to do, but oh, mom and dad actually worked through this with me, that this is what I think could be helpful. And then getting help, and then also just having a strong support system. So encouraging them to not only make friends at school, but like to not be fearful of reaching out to teachers, counselors, like people that are trusted individuals that say you, mom or dad, aren't around, that they can reach out to specifically to try to get some support if they need it from the school specifically. And what I mentioned earlier is just also telling them too, a lot of times bullying is not about them. Bullies will often act out because of their own insecurities or own personal issues. So, letting your child know, like, their words don't define you. Even though a bully might be saying really mean, negative, terrible things, that doesn't mean that it's actually true about your child. And emphasizing their strengths and all the good qualities that they have, I think, are going to be helpful for that.
And what I'm also hearing, it's a rinse and repeat. So the conversations happen often and often. I was talking to a client today, and he was talking about how he was surprised that his daughter was responding in a certain way to certain things that were said. He's like, I thought I had. I'm like, The conversations continue with every season in life. You reaffirm them. You let them know you're loved. You're appreciated. You're awesome. And who you are is defined a lot by you, not by
Yeah.
what people say. So as we wrap up, Doc, can you share success stories maybe of clients you worked with in this space when it comes to bullying, the outcome, to give our viewers hope, sometimes when we talk about these conversations, I think back to my day in school. It wasn't as bad as I hear. But there's still good happening, and there's still strategies that work, and our kids can still be safe. But could you share a story maybe perhaps of
Yeah.
the client you work with and the outcome and the likes?
Yeah, so definitely. So I had a kiddo I was working with not too long ago. He was in school, and the way that parents actually find out that he was getting bullied was during a session with me. So parents actually contacted me emergently saying, "Oh, he's expressing self harm. This is an elementary aged child, so pretty young kid." And they're like, "Oh, he's expressing thoughts about wanting to hurt himself, self harm. Like, can we come and see you?" And then when I actually spoke with him, I asked him, like, "Okay, was something going on or did something happen?" And then he mentioned, "Oh, at school, someone was telling me that I was fat and overweight and they didn't like me." And like they had mentioned it a few times. So that had really been bothering me. And that was kind of the first time that he was able to say so. And this is where, you know, as much as his parents love and he's around his parents, he just wasn't able to share it. So with that being said, that's where we could immediately take action. His parents were aware, the school was made aware, so teachers were kind of on a high alert to watch out for these behaviors. And thankfully, after that initial conversation, that hasn't really happened since then, and the child has since no longer had any thoughts of self-harm, suicide, and is feeling much better. It's still a work in progress because obviously self-esteem is not something that can be grown overnight, but that is where plans in place, working on behavioral interventions like in trying to incorporate self-esteem, self-worth, behavioral work, and continuing to work with him, parents, and school to ensure that the bullying doesn't happen any further. So,
All right.
yeah.
One more question, and this came to mind. It's we talk resilience. We talk, teaching our kids like, hey, there are mean people in the world. Um, how do you advise when it comes to mental toughness for kids? I want your opinion because there's a balance. You don't expect people not to emote. Boys don't cry. That's not
Mhm.
necessary. But how do you approach, like, how do you encourage mental toughness in children so to protect them for the real world, right? Because there are mean people everywhere. If we grow up, they're mean girls and they're mean people and they're good people too.
Yeah, yeah.
So, any tips, as parents are watching, like, hey, the real world, like, I can protect you almost so much, but at some point, like, do you have any tips?
Yeah, so definitely. So I would encourage almost like a growth mindset. So kids aren't going to win every game. They're not going to win every first prize, but this is where, hey, praising their efforts over their outcomes. You worked really hard at that. Normalizing making mistakes, not winning first place, not winning every game. That is normal, but that's also what can help you work harder to become stronger or to practice more, all of these types of things. So teaching them that life isn't all about always winning, but about encouraging yourself to work harder to achieve more. So a growth mindset and also problem solving. So that's where a lot of times, yes, parents might want to immediately solve the problems for their kids, but letting them take the cue or take the lead, having them talk about it. And then, so this is where, oh, mom, can you just solve it for me? That's when that should be a cue to you. Be like, wait a second, let me take a step back here. How do you think you would solve it? What do you think we should do next? Like encouraging them to be thought leaders and to problem solve if they're having an issue coming up, and also helping them manage their emotions. So uh I know that sometimes people are fearful of emotions, but I encourage them, like, emotions aren't bad, but it's being able to channel them, like understanding, hey, I'm a human being, I'm allowed to have emotions, but being able to self-regulate them and being able to recognize where they're coming from and what you can do for them. So I'm feeling upset because of this. What can I channel this from? Like, what can I do? Like, will that encourage me to work harder, to be, to try to practice more, to try to study more, etc. I think would be helpful when it comes to actually managing their emotions, and then promoting independence and responsibility. So letting them, make age appropriate mistakes. So this is where
Mm.
making mistakes doesn't mean you're a failure or that you're bad. It just means that you're a human being and that you can grow from them. Because I think a lot of times, most if not all people, when they make a mistake, they will try to learn from it to do something differently the next time. And then normalizing, yeah, this is all a part of life, but they'll be able to move on and to be able to persevere, and that's just going to make them a stronger individual through every hardship that they've been through.
I like it. Challenges don't break you. to
Yeah,
make you better. To make
definitely.
you, to make you stronger. I like it. Give me a high five, Doc. This is good. This is good. This is good. This is
Virtual
good.
high five.
Good. Yes, I like it. All right, Doc. For those who are watching, and to our viewers, please share this. This was really good, and this can change lives and improve the outcome and the outlooks for our children. So, thank you so much, Dr. Donna, for doing this. This was powerful. So, for those who are watching, who are like, I like this, Doc. Where's she? How can I connect with her? Can I have her come speak on my platform? Can I work with her, Doc? Where can people find you?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. I think this was really great and really incredible. So, if they want to connect with me, they can find me on my website, which is www.donawellnessclinic.com, or follow me on social media. It's all the same, like hashtag. It's facebook.com/Dona Wellness Clinic, Dona Wellness Clinic, Instagram.com, Dona Wellness Clinic, and TikTok is Dona Wellness Clinic too. And so, yeah, I'm available. Florida, New York, Pennsylvania, and Washington, D.C. private practice.
And Texas is coming, maybe?
Oh, I mean, I've considered so many different states. So if the need is there, I will definitely go there.
Oh my goodness, man. And I love that you made it easy. Donna Wellness Clinic on the web, on YouTube, on Instagram, on
Yeah.
Facebook, and TikTok. Are you on LinkedIn too?
Yeah, LinkedIn too.
Okay, so she's Donna Wellness Clinic. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Doc. This was awesome. We're going to have you up again, maybe in a couple of months. I usually do 6 months, but I like to ask you live, so it's hard to say no.
Got it. Yeah, definitely. I
Love
would
to
love
have you again.
this. This has been so much fun. So this is actually my first Facebook Live. I've done a bunch of podcasts and a bunch of other things, but this is my first Facebook Live. So I was like, oh, I don't know what to expect, but this was really fun. So
Oh,
thank you so much.
I'm glad. My pleasure. My pleasure. And thank you all who have watched replay live. Thank you for the likes, the follow, the subscription, for actually engaging in watching things like this. It tells me that there's hope. People want to learn ways to improve the quality of life of their kids, even after hours. So kudos to you, mama, papa, auntie, uncle, whatever role you play in a child's life. I appreciate you for doing what you do. And as always, if you or anyone you know is looking for an awesome, a thorough, and a compassionate family physician who will have conversations like this to help you live long and well, I am she. Till I see you again, have a good one. Thank you so much, Doc. You rock. Hang on after. Don't leave yet.
Okay.
I want to say hi to you.